Jupiter Broadcasting presents this show in mega stereo sound. This episode brought to you in part by GoDaddy.com.
This week on the Linux Action Show, Linux isn't known for gaming. Today, we change that forever. We've got a batch of games that will keep you fragging for hours. Then we load you up on the details for the next Ubuntu release and the Gnome 3 outburst heard around the world. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show. And welcome to Season 18, Episode 1, if you can believe it, of the Linux Action Show. My name is absolutely Brian. That guy is Chris.
Hey there, Brian. Check out this creepy flying drone that can crack Wi-Fi, snoop on cell phones, and capture your data packets.
That is much better than any flying drone I've ever had.
And it runs Linux, Brian.
Of course it does.
This came out at DEF CON. Now, what's actually a little creepy about
God,
this
I love DEF CON.
is this is based off a retired U.S. military drone. I don't know how they get, I don't know, maybe the story goes, I didn't read that part, but perhaps it goes into detail how they get a retired military drone. But I did glean a few details out of the article that I thought were pretty interesting. It's also equipped with an HD camera, so it gets great shots of what it's flying over.
Good.
The Linux computer is only the size of a pack of cigarettes, which is pretty neat.
Nice.
And it runs Backtrack, that really well-known Linux.
Backtrack's awesome.
Yeah. And so it's pretty neat. And there's even some video clips of it flying around. They call it the Wasp, is its actual official name. And I think it's believed that, of course, the U.S. military also has something that's a little more official, something more like an actual, commissioned drone that flies around. But this is actually, I think, a sign of the times. I mean, this stuff is getting so commoditized now that really for a few $100s, I mean, eventually within reach, you're going to be able to just
I like the
yourself a drone.
The quote there in the article. I just want to read this real quick. This is from the article. A military base like Area 51, Tacey points out, is surrounded by more than 25 miles of empty land to obscure it from the outside snoops. With WASP, we can cover that distance in about 20 minutes. With radar designed specifically not to see birds, it's very difficult to protect yourself from an object coming out of the sky and flying low.
And it's very small, so it's about the size of a bird, right? So
it's it's a big bird. It's like a condor kind of thing.
Yeah, very big bird. It's got to be
but
the
still,
edge.
a big bird coming along, dude.
It's yellow too.
Dude.
It's a big bird that's
I
yellow.
wonder how much those would cost to build.
Yeah, I think they actually mentioned, not in this article, but there's another article you can find out on the web that they went ahead and put 32 gigs of storage in it and put a 4G wireless card in there
as they go. So even if the thing crashes, they still got all the data
so
back.
I think this one's a little more expensive than your average one that wouldn't have like a 4G modem in it.
Dude. Well, dude, all you got to do is go like Virgin Mobile has those prepaid ones.
Yep.
You can get the prepaid 3G
and
phone.
then when it's done, it's done.
When it's done, it's done. It's like $25 for a card. You don't even have to have a credit card
you
on
just
file.
fill it up before a mission.
You buy it in cash. Nobody can trace it back to you. Awesome.
Oh man, the future's getting scary, Brian. But before we get into the rest of the show, because I've got an Android pick, you've got a Linux pick.
Oh, probably.
And then, are we going to talk about video games today, or what?
Yeah.
I'll tell you though, it's touch
We're
and
gonna
go.
talk about games.
We're at the top of the show.
We're gonna talk about games.
We're at the top of the show. See right now, if you're watching the video version, there's a black screen behind
Black screen. That's the game screen.
it. That minutes before the show started, that had games on
That
it.
had games on it.
We'll see if we
right
can get
now
that
it
again.
doesn't.
Yeah,
no games.
So hopefully we get that working, but I've got a ton of good games. You got a ton of good games. Before we
games.
get to all of that, let's talk about the good folks over at the GoDaddy.com, Brian.
Yes, now if you go to GoDaddy.com, you can register websites, then host them.
Yeah.
And you type in Linux when you check out for the website part, and you save 10%.
Yeah.
And if you're like doing like
And
if you're doing like servers that are based on Linux for shared hosting, you type in Linux 2.0, you save 20% off of that, which basically means that you get $1 billion for free
That's
from
a true
Santa
statement.
Claus.
That's a true
from
statement.
Santa Claus and Danica Patrick.
Now you know.
From Santa Claus.
I don't know if you folks out there have done this situation at GoDaddy where you build yourself up a long list of hosted systems that you have,
Oh yeah.
And the thing that is really freaking nice about it is they're all listed in one management panel. So if you got like
That's really
5 or
nice.
6 or 7 or 8 of them like we do, you go in there and it's just click, click, click.
So nice.
Simple, easy management tools.
So
and then
nice.
it's easy just to throw something on there. In fact, I look over here at my GoDaddy. Look at all these emails I have from GoDaddy. Look at all these freaking servers we have. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's
but
nuts.
I gotta say, I have no reason to switch off. It has been fantastic hosting. So
I know, right?
Thanks to GoDaddy. Use the code Linux20 if you want to hook yourself up with some hosting. That's really what I
They're
love.
rocking. And what's great is when you go to GoDaddy.com, Danica says hi. Right there on the website. She's like,
That's
hi,
true.
hi, good job.
That's true.
Good job making a website.
Yep.
And
Now-
it's like, wow, I love that instant positive reinforcement. That's fantastic.
For my Android pick this week, I got a little mea culpa. I gotta say, I should have called this one out earlier, like last week or the week before.
Yeah, you should
The
have.
last 2 episodes of Linux Action Show would
where
have been a good week.
it would have actually made sense.
Would have been a good
Right.
fit with the episode content.
But what I'm glad we're doing this Android pick now when it doesn't make sense.
Right.
In fact,
No.
this is
Maybe.
a whole different season.
Hold on, maybe
So
somebody's
technically-
marathoning like we do with 24. Maybe like, you know.
Yeah, but in 24, if
Yeah,
you're
you're
sitting
right.
down to marathon
You're
a show, you marathon a season,
I
right?
brought a storyline across seasons, didn't I?
You brought a storyline across season.
That was the cliffhanger. And
It's
this
an epic storyline arc.
Yes!
Nice.
All right, so we're talking about the official Xbmc Remote. If you happen to pick up Xbmc, which I know a ton of you did from our Media Centers episodes, I gotta recommend his Xbmc Remote. First of all, depending on all of the settings on your Xbox Media Center, you can actually get the media
That's awesome.
artwork preview on your Android device. So you can actually, as you're browsing on your phone or tab, you can get you can browse by the album art or show descriptions.
I like how you were trying to bring up
I
a
know.
screenshot, and the website was like, no, you can't have a screenshot.
I know, wasn't that-
anywhere on
it
your
was
web
like,
browser.
It was like just all over the place.
It was like coming up in like the bottom right-hand corner, way off screen.
This is AppBrain. It does that. I love AppBrain, but
AppBrain,
it
yeah.
does that.
It does.
So it's got and then plus it also has just your standard interface remote, up, down,
looks
those kinds
nice.
of things.
It looks good.
And
Yeah.
then it also has hot jump lists for the different like multimedia functions of Xbox Media Center. You can go right to the music library or right to the movies library, right to your pictures. It's so much nicer than an actual remote, and you always have an Android device with you. Or
Always.
your phone with you. So it's really cool. Great remote. I've also in the past I think recommended the Boxy remote, which is similar to this. There are a few others on the market that do other things, but this one is the official remote. So I gotta recommend this one. So go check it out. Link in the show notes along with all of the other previous Android app picks.
All right, so I want to talk about the Linux app pick because
Yeah.
the Linux app pick is awesome this week.
I am so glad you picked this.
I have been holding off on doing this one for a little while now, but I can't hold off any longer.
Sir, no sir.
We're going to talk about Marble.
Yeah.
Marble is awesome. It's from the KDE folks over at the educational KDE at edu.kde.org /Marble. You can check it out. Basically, what Marble is this. It is a globe. Imagine if you were at school or at your home and you have yourself a physical globe.
Yeah.
Except when you spin around that globe, you could just push buttons and have little
I like that.
icons appear where you could have Wikipedia entries over key landmarks, cities, locales. You could do searches. You could do up-to-date temperature across the globe. You could do cloud cover. You could do all sorts of information. It is an amazing, amazing tool. You have different types of maps, so you can move it between a flat map and all
This is
sorts
so sweet.
of everything.
This is
You could
so
do
sweet.
more of a road map or a topographical map.
Yeah, check out their roadmaps. I
amazing.
think they must pull these in from the Open Map project or something. They're
think so.
gorgeous.
They're great. They're amazing.
It's so funny you picked this app because last night I was going through I was narrowing down from like 15 games I want to talk about to like 4 games I was really going to go after. And I got to tell you, man, I had to exercise a lot of self-control because I came across this app and I was like, I kind of want to play with this right now.
It's great.
It was like I just want to sit there and
It's
mess
a
with the
great
globe.
app. It's a great app. So I know a lot of you guys will probably use things like Google Earth, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Google Earth, a lot of people will say, you know what? There's a lot of similarities between this and Google Earth. No, you
no.
gotta check this thing out.
This is more-
Check out this screenshot here.
Google
This
Earth
is meant for learning things. This is meant for exploring your globe in so many different ways. There's many, many plugins. You can measure distances between points. You can, check out the Wikipedia entries. You can check out. It's like if you combine a globe, a flat map, an atlas, all of Wikipedia,
Yeah.
every weather website, everything, all into one
Yeah.
thing. There's plugins that.
And then you made a native app on the desktop instead of a web app.
Right, it's great. Here's what's really cool. So when it has all the GPS support and all that, and that's neat. What's really cool, this is also a Qt widget. So you can actually take this, the base functionality of Marble, and embed it into your own Qt Linux application.
Awesome.
And it's great. And
That
it's
is
super
awesome.
easy to use. So cool. And the little widget, full GPS support and everything.
So if you have like a little device, it'll be able to like...
Yeah.
Yeah. That is neat,
So
man.
rad.
Okay.
So rad.
That is one of these tools that I can't wait till Dylan's a little older and I want him to play with that kind of a thing. you know?
Right? It's way cool. Well, every now and then I look over what's happening on the KDE side of things, and I wonder what the hell I'm doing not running KDE full-time.
You know, I got a story in our news docket that kind of fits with that, so maybe we should
All right, so we'll save that.
You know what? Actually, I think that... Oh, so wait. Give it the name one more time, just
That's
in case.
Marble, man.
Marble.
That is Marble.
And just like the Linux app, Android picks, Magit is keeping a Linux app pick. So all of the Linux apps that Brian has picked are also linked in the show notes for every show.
They are indeed. And
So
you can also, there's a little forum post
Yep.
for it in Jupyter Colony.
That's what it links to.
Yeah.
But you know
You know what's funny?
Good man.
You know what's funny?
What's that,
We were
B-Man?
talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look how we do.
Using different words.
But communicating the same thing.
Right.
All right, Brian. Let's do the news.
What's new in the news this week?
All right, Brian. The top story on the news docket for this week is from an old friend that I think all of us used to hang out with, but probably haven't seen in a few years.
That's right.
A new version of Knoppix 6.70 has been released.
It has.
And now everybody remembers Knoppix as like the pioneer in live CDs, right? That's what I think of it as.
Yeah, Knoppix was they were the live CD guys.
Yeah, they really
Yeah.
kind of cracked that nut and made it go live, or made it go, mainstream. And I really haven't checked them out for quite a long time, mostly because all of my distros of choice have implemented their own live CDs.
Yeah,
right?
so there hasn't really been much drive for me to check out Knoppix.
So I guess the question is, where does Knoppix go from here? And so that's kind of what this release focused on. Is one of the first things you might not associate immediately with Knoppix is sort of more cutting edge glitz. First, now out of the
not
box,
really.
you boot up. Compiz is active now. You get 3D effects going. They're making things flashy.
Okay.
They got new versions of everything dumped in their kernel.
Welcome to 2009, boys.
Yeah, I know. They opted to go the Chrome route, which is actually kind of interesting instead of going
interesting.
Firefox. And I don't know, just overall, it looks like it's a pretty nice release. It's just worth something to check out. I don't know if there's any major feature that is like going to demand your attention.
Honestly, it does look pretty good. It looks like a pretty nice, decent-looking GNOME 2 desktop.
And the word is just out of this world work went into just trying to handle every particular
Nice.
hardware scenario.
Really?
So hopefully, if you have kind of an off-the-wall box that you've had issues with live CDs before,
Yeah, I should really give it a run. It's been a while since I've run any kind of Knoppix. It's probably been a good
That's what I was thinking.
2 years since I've run Knoppix.
See, that's what I was thinking. So I thought that's why I give it a mention. Maybe folks out there are kind of the same way.
I'll give it a spin.
Now, the next story on the news docket is kind of an enterprise story. So it doesn't apply to a lot of people, but it's a big industry shaking up that's happening a lot in the cloud computing space, because one of the things that has been an up and on and off subject on the show here is we've really focused for so many years now on open source and free applications, right?
Right.
But this move to cloud computing is basically all of this stuff is hosted in a closed-off system. It might be running on a Linux box, but the entire
But
application
you have
layer-
no access to the
Right.
stack, and oftentimes, even if they're developed all in PHP, where it's really hard to encrypt it anyway, you don't have access to it. So
well,
it
and
doesn't
a
matter.
lot of these like cloud platforms have like their own database storage
yeah.
system you have to write to specifically.
Right.
In fact, we just talked a lot about this on TechSnap episode 17 about how Amazon is able to lock people in by using their EC2 storage system and their block database system. It's good and bad. And
It is.
one of the companies making a metric ton of money off this is VMware.
Yeah.
In fact, VMware is getting to the point now where they're talking about looking at them as a monopoly, and there's actually maybe even an antitrust investigation being discussed. It's that massive.
Wow.
And which is kind of
Seems
like
crazy to me.
because it's like in the server space, people just don't talk about it.
No.
So there was an initiative that was started by NASA and Rackspace
Yep.
called the
OpenStack.
OpenStack. And at the OSCon that's been going on this last week, HP threw down, Dell has thrown down saying, we're joining this OpenStack alliance.
Awesome.
So you have these massive competitors in this space coming together to say this is going to be our solution. It's going to be an all-encompassing hosting platform where you're going to have APIs that developers can write to and all this kind of stuff. Linux-based, open source. It's under the Apache license. And this is just really interesting to see these competitors coming together and uniting around open source to take on a major
Yeah.
enemy.
And dude, huge kudos to HP.
Right?
They are winning so many brownie points with me lately.
They're also gonna sponsor HP as part of this. They're gonna sponsor the OpenStack Design Summit in October 11th as sort of like a, hey, welcome to the party. Here's some money. I think that's really
Awesome.
great. And so it's gonna be interesting to see if one of the things you've seen on the server side is there's been a slowing of Linux adoption.
There really has.
And the people that are established Unix shops are saying right now the Unix systems we have in place, we don't really have any immediate intention of eliminating. What we've migrated to Linux, we're kind of happy. This isn't everywhere,
Sure.
but this is becoming sort of the statistical norm.
Sure.
This, however, this story could start heating things up again, right? Because
It
these
could.
big vendors roll in, and Dell and HP are going to sell servers with this OpenStack solution preloaded onto it. So this could be really good. This could be big. And I'm curious to see where it goes. I know
very
it's not
curious.
a story that interests everybody, but it's like an infrastructure thing that affects every web service pretty much we use because so much stuff is virtualized now.
And HP is huge. When they get behind something, I mean, that's worth looking at.
Word to your face, B-Man.
Thank you.
Hey,
I
what
love
do you-
that my face gets the word.
Let's jump into a little more. So let's go from the enterprise to the consumer. Let's talk about. We talked about Knoppix. Let's talk about another new release. This one's coming. Knoppix is released. This is the new Ubuntu beta. Now I'm going to attempt to pronunciate the name correctly. Are you ready? Here we go. It is Orsit
Oniric Ocelot.
Orniric.
Oniric Ocelot.
Orniric. Okay,
Oniric
Ocelot. Ocelot. Now here's what I got.
an
for you.
Oniric Ocelot.
Before we go further, I've got what an Ocelot is. I looked this up because I didn't know.
It's adorable is what
So
it is.
this is the name. Orniric Ocelot is the name of Ubuntu 11.10. The next release of Ubuntu 11.10, which has just hit Alpha 3.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about some of the new features and things like that. But before we get to that, we got to talk about what an Ocelot is.
Ocelot.
Whatever. It is.
It's a kitty cat.
It is described as a kitty cat in a jaguar fur coat.
That's about right. I mean, there's a little more to it than that, but yeah. It's an ocelot.
That doesn't piss you off?
Why would it piss me off?
I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
What are you reading into that? It's a kitty cat.
Well, Jaguar was a version of OS 10.
Oh, you can't... Just because Apple tried to claim ownership of every feline species in the world, you can't come out... They also claimed a tiger,
But
too.
let's
so
be
now
clear.
you can't use the word tiger
You
without
also-
people talking about... And Jaguar. So now is the company that makes the Jaguar cars,
No.
are they just trying to be like
You
Apple?
have to acknowledge, though, if you are in that market, if you were making an operating system, if you were building Brian OS, there is no way...
That would be awesome, by the way.
there's just no way when
that
you're...
would be one sexy man beast of an
And
OS.
when Brian OS 2.0 comes
Damn,
out...
that would be good.
When Brian OS 2.0 comes out, you wouldn't name it Jaguar.
No, I'd name it Macintosh.
I mean, you would
I
be...
just go straight up for the. I go straight for it. Brian OS 2.0, codename
you know,
Macintosh.
Just name it kind of Mac. Just name it trying to be Mac. I mean, really.
No, not trying to be Mac. It doesn't have anything to do with Apple or their OS. It's just a really cool word.
I feel like it does.
They do so many. Come on, they've done koalas and pandas and pygmy
It'd be
goats
one thing
and
if they were making
hamsters and-
it would be one thing if they were making
This
a
is what
word processor.
Ubuntu does, man.
It'd be one thing if they were making a word processor. This is a desktop. All right, okay, all right. If you don't think, just to me, it sounds like they're saying when you say it's basically a kitty cat, so a cute little smaller version inside a big cat clothing.
Well, here's another example.
That's what it is. That's the name of the OS.
Here's another example.
All right,
Trevor
says I'm reading too much into
We
it.
are Jupiter Broadcasting, right?
Yeah.
You remember how the Elementary Project came out with their first OS and called it the Jupiter OS, right?
Sure.
And there was basically a Linux-based distro.
Sure.
Were they?
Look, see, here's the okay.
they probably
I'm going
were
to drop it
trying to
because
be
everybody
like
says
us,
I'm wrong.
yeah.
But I'll make my last I'll try to make my last point one more time. It's not like they're naming something completely unrelated to another product. I mean, it is the same category of
it's true.
product. It's the same category, and I don't know. It seems a little. It
It's
could
too
be
soon. It's too soon to use a kitty cat code name
Well,
for that.
it just seems like a joke. It seems like an in-joke that we're trying to rip off Mac OS 10, and we're even going to name it something that's a smaller, cuter version in the Mac OS 10 clothing. I mean, that's honest to God what it feels like to me.
Honestly,
But I'll just move on. I know I'm wrong.
They called one of their releases Hardy Heron. They put in so little time, in my opinion, coming up
agree.
with these code names. I really don't think Mark Shuttleworth
probably
and the
right.
rest of the crew
You're probably right.
thought it through. I think they saw a picture of an ocelot. They probably went to Google and said weird, adorable animal.
No, you're
and
probably
it came up
right.
with an ocelot. They're
I
like,
think-
ocelot, cool. And then they went to a thesaurus, hit the letter O,
Yeah.
and they're like, oniric, that's a word no one knows how to pronounce. And they're like, boom,
You're
there's
right.
our code name.
I think the primary
That's
goal
how
is
they
cuteness.
do it. It's cuteness.
Yeah.
They don't care what it is.
So let's talk about what some of the new cuteness is going to be in the new.
You can't play 6 Degrees of Separation from Kevin Bacon with the names
OS.
that Canonical comes out with because they make no sense to start with.
So, actually, the chat room seems like they're pretty split now. I've convinced some of them, which is good.
Great.
Makes me feel better.
Now we have created a massive controversy.
Nice.
All right, people. Take to the streets.
Yeah, I think they're already doing that over in London this weekend.
Anyway.
Let's go over some of the new features. So one of the first things they're doing is Unity 2D massive overhaul. It's now fully compatible with GTK 3. So if you don't have 3D acceleration, that's awesome.
That is cool.
A new Alt-Tab switcher, which actually looks kind of neat. The way it works is your main 4 icons are these blocks.
Yep.
And then
And then it's got the rest of
it
them.
does like a little 3D flippy kind of sideways thing for the other off to the peripheral apps, which is kind of neat.
It's nice.
Software Center has been improved with some new faster installation features.
Now, have you seen the screenshots of the potential new software center?
No.
We'll keep talking.
All right,
I'll bring it
you
up.
want to Google them up? Well, I don't have your screen over there because we tried hooking up the laptop. But also, I don't know. I mean, to me, this is looking like a lot of polish. A lot of the things in Unity that could use some tweaking are nice. I like the direction they're taking stuff. They're changing the way some of the visual feedbacks happen for maximizing windows and things like that. Overall, I think it's. I haven't seen the software center. I'll reserve judgment on that. But overall, I think this is looking like they've set their spot in the ground now with Unity.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to build on top of it, just like we hoped would happen. And we're seeing some things added back and some things tweaked.
Top of the note.
Top of the note.
Top of the note. I got a link.
Top
for
of the
you.
note to you, Brian.
So this is found this over at OMG Ubuntu, the good guys over there.
Yeah.
Joey from OMG Ubuntu
Yeah.
posted a little shot from the development branch. This is what
Whoa.
the new software center is potentially
So
looking like.
how do we describe this for the audio folks here?
It is basically it's a Ubuntu branded revamp. That's really what has changed. Where the original software center or the software center as it currently stands just looks like a nice GTK app. You know what I mean? It's not really Ubuntu themed. This new one is Ubuntu themed up the butt. It is very Ubuntu colored. There's the new toolbar is very Ubuntu in style. And it is just much more.
It looks like an
it's
app
more
store.
Flashy.
It's more app store.
It looks like a legitimate app store instead of just a repository.
It's funny how arranging this like this, it changes my perception from this is a repo browser, which the software store currently
this is
feels
an app
this
store.
is an app store.
Yeah. And I think that's what they did it with. Now, there's no word that it's going to be in the next release.
Look at these
it
super
might not
high-res
be
shots. I think this has
in
got to
the
go in. This
Ocelot.
is looking slick.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this.
Yeah. One little thing I want to scroll up a little bit.
All right.
All right. One bone I have to pick. That's what the OMG Ubuntu guy. Scroll up a little bit more. Right there. Note that for the purchased screenshot section, there is no Illumination Software Creator shot in there.
So that's like a prereq. Like if you're gonna have a screenshot of the
OMG Ubuntu, if you're going to cover the Software Center again, I want screenshots with Illumination Software Creator in it. Come on.
Maybe you should just send them like a little
You're my
screenshot ahead of time.
boys.
You know what you need to do? Just send out a
I
press
just-
packet, and then they don't have to go get their own screenshots.
Use these screenshots, yeah. Every bit of a bunch of news that comes out, I will release a press release with art. Anyway.
So of course this
But
is.
it looks really nice. They
Is,
did a really
is this
nice
even
job.
in functional code stage, or is it all
Yes.
still mock-up?
Yes, no, it's just in development. I don't know
So he
if
says
it's going to make it in
they
time.
made a note here that it's all HTML. They're using a WebKit rendering backend on
Yeah.
that, so that's pretty cool.
It's pretty groovy.
Man, look at WebKit take off, huh?
Yeah.
I just downloaded what's it called, Midori, I think, last night.
Midori.
the
Good-
GTK
good browser.
Yeah, a little fast little WebKit browser. It's pretty nice.
That was one of our old app picks.
Yep.
Good game. Good web browser.
All right, B-Man, let's talk a little fun here, a little tongue-in-cheek news story here. Linus Torvalds on Google Plus announced that he'd like to see Gnome 4.
Yes, he would. Basically, he's all torqued off because he thinks Gnome 3 sucks a bunch. And it's funny, because when we reviewed Gnome 3, we talked about things like, man, so I have to go click in the upper left-hand corner to click a stupid thing. Then I got to move my mouse all the way to the right-hand middle side of the thing to click another thing. And then I got to move my mouse all the way to the left-hand middle to click another thing. And boom, now I have a terminal. Basically,
That was Linus's complaint,
Linus
too.
was, he was talking about the same thing. He's like, you guys are joking with me. This is annoying.
Brother, what's
So he's like, you know what? Let's just fork Gnome 2 and let's make Gnome 2 a continually updated branch, and Gnome 3 can just be a separate deal.
Here, I'll read a little what Linus had to say, because, it's
It's
always
good.
fun reading Linus. He says, why can't I have shortcuts on my desktop? Why can't I have expose functionality? Wobbly windows? Why does anybody sane think that it's a good idea to have that go crazy activities menu, to have that go to the crazies activity menu? Remember, we hated the
the
activities
activity
menu.
menu drives me crazy.
Yeah. So he goes on. He says, "This is just crazy crap. Now you need to shift Control N to in an old terminal to bring up a new one. Yeah, that's a real user experience improvement right there. Sure. I mean, you could tell he was obviously going off the deep end here on this. He says, I'm switching to XFCE. I think it's a step down from Gnome 2, but it's a huge step up from Gnome 3. Really."
I agree with him completely on this. I like FCE a ton.
Now, you know what?
I'll tell you what, if Brian OS was coming out right now, it would be XFCE powered.
Or maybe,
no doubt.
It could be Mate desktop environment powered. This is a GNOME 2 fork, and it's actually in active development. And it is hopefully going to be a continuation of the GNOME 2 branch. So what do you think of that?
I want to go ahead and read a quote from their website. Leave it up here for a second. Overview. Mate desktop environment, a non-intuitive and unattractive desktop for users using traditional computing desktop metaphor, also known as the GNOME 2 fork.
Isn't that awesome? Totally tongue-in-cheek, like, yeah, okay, fine.
We're ugly, and it's not intuitive, and it's ugly, but whatever. It's going to work, and we like GNOME 2, so shut up.
So,
I like that a lot.
There's your GNOME 2 fork.
Now, here's the thing. We actually covered another GNOME 2 fork that's already gone. So here's what's concerning to me is I would like to see a GNOME 2 fork, but I'm not going to jump on board with one until I see it's been around for a while.
Now, here's why this one's passing the sniff test a little bit is that it's got some active users.
Yeah.
And B, it's been active for like at least about 40 days or so when I checked into
it. That's a start.
It looked like they're on revision 303.
303. So people have been checking in stuff.
Yeah.
Right, well, that's good.
Yeah, so we'll see. Now, of course, while the GNOME 3 camp is sort of flailing around trying to figure out, just the GNOME camp is still just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, that doesn't stop them from throwing down at the latest party for the desktop peeps. The Berlin Desktop Summit's going on right now, and this is it's a meetup between the KDE camps and the GNOME camps. And friend of the show, Aaron Tsai, goes there. He, of course, is one of the head gurus for the KDE project.
And I might add, not only a great guy, but always drunk. Like always.
Yeah.
Have you ever
read
man. or talked to Aaron when he hasn't been just plastered in bliss out of his mind?
I think that's been us.
Has that been us?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's been sober. And it's been us.
Here's the thing about Aaron. Always sober.
Yeah.
The man does not drink alcohol. Boring guy. Continue.
So, this is kind of, I don't know. So you know how we were covering last week, KDE 4.7 came out.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, KDE 4 is finally getting to where KDE 3 was getting at the end of its life. It's getting nice and polished, getting to become a good desktop. We're finally there.
It's, really
it's all
nice.
paid off. Well,
I know.
Things are changing. This is breaking as of today. Aaron posted on his blog that he'll be making an important announcement at the Desktop Summit later today at 17:30 hours. I don't know if that's where they're at in Berlin or what, but he's going to announce KDE Frameworks 5.0. And this is going to be the new KDE platform coming out of the Platform 11 version.
The Platform 11 conference.
Yeah, okay, whatever. And here's the thing. Here's the details that I thought I'd share with you guys. Is they are going to focus on compatibility. There shouldn't be a complete breakage. They're going to say, we do not wish to introduce anything highly disruptive. It's going to be using Qt5. It's going to be mostly under the hood set of work. They're going to take this opportunity to adopt some new technologies behind the scenes to increase interoperability, such as introducing a secret service implementation that can phase out K-Wallet. That wouldn't be too bad.
Wouldn't be bad.
And they'll offer automated migration code for app developers.
All right.
We don't really have any details yet, but of course, by the time this episode's coming out tonight, I think people will probably start to see some of the first posts, so we'll probably cover it next week. This is interesting. So the KDE 5
There's
thing
no
is
real
happening.
information other than there is going to be a KDE 5.
Yeah, and he's going to talk about it tonight.
Well, that'd be good. I would love to hear what's going on with that because I'm really happy with where KDE is at right now, and I would love to see like a 4.8 and 4.9, and I feel like right about that. Like if we had 2 more revs with the rate they're going with improving KDE 4, KDE 4 would just be just like the bee's knees, like with just like 2 more revs.
So
like, they just would be unbeatable.
It's interesting that we're approaching the inception point of KDE 5, and GNOME 3 just feels like GNOME 3's only had one round of distro releases since GNOME 3's come out.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting now, the obvious development gap, but is the functionality gap the same? They're almost answering 2 different problems now. Like before, it was really do I want to run
going
KDE?
2 totally different routes.
So now it's almost more like it's not really this apples and oranges comparison.
What do you want?
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. Yeah, a totally different thing. So it's like the difference between Chrome OS and Linux. I mean, it's like they're 2 totally different ways to go.
The chat room's asking here, see, that came from Mifoslave 2. Not even the first one, but the second one says maybe we're going to see something about improvements for Wayland support and things like that.
Oh, Wayland support. Maybe they're going to ditch Xorg. Who knows? Who knows?
And I would love to see stuff like they're saying in the chat room too, that KDE 4 still sometimes doesn't feel quite as snappy as other desktops. But
It doesn't.
neither
It does
Gnome
get
3,
it does get a little sluggish from time to time.
So,
but that's okay.
Interesting enough, we'll cover that if as information comes out next week.
Yeah. I can't even form an opinion on it yet because I have no idea really what's going to happen.
What do you think, B-Man? Is it time to talk about video games?
Nope.
What's
I'm
that?
just kidding. Yeah, we got to talk about video games. Let's talk about video games. Okay. It's been a while since we've talked just about games. We've had Linux app picks that have been games.
Is this like our second or third episode we've done of Linux Action Show on games?
At least the third one.
Yeah.
We've done at least 2 before. I think this might be actually our 4th episode.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. But think about it this way. We've been around for 5 years.
Yeah. You got to cover this.
5 years.
Right.
The fact that we haven't done more than 5 just game episodes is our fault. We have to call a mulligan on this one. We screwed up. We have not provided you, the viewer, with enough game-specific content for your Linux boxes.
Our last Linux gaming episode was in November, Brian.
was last November.
Yeah.
That's not too bad,
That's
right?
not too bad, but
That's not too bad.
honestly, we got a whole new list of good stuff to talk about.
Holy crap, I got short hair in that one.
Yeah.
Look at me looking all presentable.
Yeah, look at you,
Man,
huh?
those of you listening to it, you just imagine me looking presentable. It's
There it is.
fantastic. All right, so we got a lot of games. There have been new games coming along, old games that we just kind of wanted to check out again, and all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
But you actually had some really cool ones in the pick. But
Yeah.
I think that we should talk about the website you had on there first.
Okay, yeah. Now, so this site is really for Debian and Ubuntu users.
Yeah.
But oh my God, this is like the best thing ever.
It's great.
It's from the GetDeb folks, if you know what that is. But this is
GetDeb.net is basically
Yeah.
just a great clearinghouse for Debian-based packages that work great on Ubuntu that are for a lot of projects and a lot of updated projects that you're not going to find in the repos.
one-click PPA install from the website.
Nice.
And so PlayDeb is a take on that, and a lot of what we will talk about will be on the PlayDeb website. Not everything, but a lot of it, and it keeps their new packages. So here's the latest Warsaw that came out, which is not in the Ubuntu or Mint repos.
No, so you want the latest of these games. This
Yeah.
is where to grab them.
The older versions are, and then you can see right here, it's literally you just click the button and they install. And I love this site. You got to check it out. Now, I find that after about the 5th page, I start getting some bad repos. So I don't, probably
Yeah.
you want to probably grab them while they're hot. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
but the latest ones are always pretty solid.
So go browse. If you got a Deb package-based system, go browse playdeb.net.
So worthwhile.
Thank us later.
So worthwhile. Anyway, we just had to get that out of the way because
Yeah.
that's pretty critical. All right, so let's start off. I got a game here that actually
yeah.
I'm mentioning this in part because this is part of the current Humble Indie Bundle 3 that's going on.
Awesome. I wanted to call out a few humble games.
And this is my favorite of the current games that are out. And honestly, there's quite a few good ones. So if you haven't already picked up the current Humble Indie Bundle 3, you probably should because as we've mentioned in the past, Linux users are kind of already
Still
trouncing.
too. And I wonder, I noticed that the two big names have donated to the Humble Indie Bundle, and I believe they've done it under the Linux banner. I'm not positive. Notch, the creator of Minecraft, and then
Yep.
also MT Gox, the biggest Bitcoin exchange.
Yep.
But so this game here is part of that.
This game is part of the Humble Indie Bundle. It's called Cogs.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
It is a very simple game. It is a lot like what's a good example? Pipe Dream. It's a lot like Pipe Dream. So mixed with some of the other kind of puzzly games. You'll notice there's a lot of Pipe Dreamy type things to it. We have pipes moving along. Basically, what you're trying to do is you have pipes and cogs and other smaller contraptions where you are just trying to solve a puzzle. You're trying to get gas from one end of this thing to the other. The thing that makes this cool is that not only does it look great, but the
And kinda steampunk.
operating environment that you are on is not flat. It is three-dimensional objects. So
you got to move like crates and stuff like that.
yeah, check this out. So like here's an example. So you got to make this little thing fly. Watch this here. See this here?
Yeah.
You have an actual full three-dimensional item.
So it's like a puzzle, so he has to move the gears into place so that then it begins to animate the object.
It's like a three-dimensional Rubik's Cube version of Pipe Dream, plus so much more that comes in a lot of those other like puzzle type games.
Yeah.
And I don't normally go in for these kind of games, but this game is so rad.
Yep.
Like they did such a good job on it that I love it. And I don't like these kind of games. Like I saw this and I thought, you know what? There's no way I'm gonna like this. Because the Humble Indie Bundle comes with all these games. There was like 3 or 4 games I definitely wanted to get. This one, I was like, dude, I don't even know if I want to download it.
There's been some games like that before that you've kind of gotten behind.
I clicked on the website. holy crap, I saw the video, I downloaded it.
I know.
It runs great, it runs smooth, it uses like hardly any CPU power, which is just mind-boggling because it looks gorgeous. Great game. Super great game. It's commercial, it's closed source, but it's super
Part of the
awesome.
Humble Indie Bundle, though, and you
Part
can
of
set
the Humble
your
Indie
price,
Bundle.
so.
Come on, you can spend like $5 and get like a bazillionly great
You get all the
games.
titles. They're all good titles.
They're all good. I just wanted to call this one out because I thought it was just a fantastic take on the general puzzly device genre thing.
I'll do I've got like 3 or 4 that I really want to talk about. This is the one I'm going to throw, which is an extra because I know people are going to mention it if I don't mention it. And that is Minecraft, which shipped with Premier Linux support. It's a Java-based app, so of course, if you got the Java runtime, you can run Minecraft. And in fact, I have a link for the Ubuntu folks. There is an installer script that if you don't have Java set up, it downloads Java, downloads all the dependencies, and then installs Minecraft. And then you just press a button, you're playing the game. So I have a link to that in the show notes. Thing that I love about Minecraft is that we have a Minecraft server. And the Minecraft server, mc.jupitercolony.com, is an amazing world where you can really see where people that really have an enthusiasm for this game, what you can do with it. And at first glance, it seems like a trivial waste of time, but then when you go into a place like mc.jupitercolony.com, you see these creations that people are making, like these things that people are spending so much time on.
Like giant visible from space versions of my head.
Yes. It's awesome.
That's all I care about. The fact that there are not more monuments to me is a little disappointing, but I still like it, and I like that they build it on Linux.
Of course, that's a solid cross-platform game, too.
It's a solid cross-platform game.
Yeah. Now, you got another one you want to throw at our face?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got one that's currently in beta. You can buy it. It's also commercial and closed source, but this is quite a cool game. It is basically a real-time strategy game in time. It's called Atron or Akron.
Really?
Atron.
In time?
So here's the idea. It is a multiplayer real-time strategy game with time travel for every player during real-time gameplay. So you can actually travel back in time to affect current gameplay time.
Oh,
so
cool.
Throw up the video here.
Okay.
Now
So
take
you
these
notice
units and
guys
send them back
walking
into the
around and
past.
walking towards this little portal here.
Yes.
Boom.
I'm now
That
back
was
in
a
the
time
past.
shift, wasn't
Now
it?
these extra units in the
Whomp,
future.
All sorts of stuff going on
cool.
here. They're
One
moving
commander, so I
around.
can control them
Basically,
as a
you've got a big three-dimensional space for having real-time strategy
Flash in
battles
red indicates that I was
with
not there to
time
witness the
travel built
damage
into
I
it. There's been a lot of
love
articles
this,
written
dude.
on this, like over at Kotaku just did an article on this guy. It's a really, really cool looking game. If you buy it now, I think you get into the current beta. They've got the current beta, I think, is predominantly Windows-based, so that's a bummer. But
Oh, really? Are they working on a Linux version or
but
what?
they're working on Linux and a Mac
Okay.
version, and I think there's
timeline
even a
shows a
beta
summary of what is
available
happening
of
at
a
every point in time.
64-bit Linux
There's also the
version.
control
So it's like
used
it's not
time
just
travel.
like a pipe dream, kind of
It's
like
coming.
we hope to have
Time of
Linux
my
someday.
team.
Right.
It's something they're actually
They're
building,
working on
and
it.
it's kind of available
Indicates
right
my
now.
current
I just
time
don't.
position.
They're just not shipped yet. They haven't shipped their final, so it's still
That
coming.
looks like that could be... I love the concept. Looks like it could be a total blast.
Totally, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got a sci-fi RPG I'll share in a second, but
Lay it on me.
the one I wanted... So now we're getting into my more serious games, and I'm kind of going to do from least serious to most serious, okay?
Okay.
So my least serious, just kick back, have fun game, totally free, runs on Linux, download it's probably in your repo, is Teeworlds. And this is... What I like about Teeworlds is that it's aware of its sort of a cute little nature. You're this little blob with a gun and with a shotgun or something and a Gatling gun. So you can like Spider-Man around the world and shoot at stuff, and it's just a great little platformer to kick back and just enjoy and have fun. And this one, I wasn't 100% sure because I play it very casually, but Dylan, my 2.5-year-old, loves to watch me play this game.
Yeah.
He thinks it's hilarious.
It's a cool game.
It's got great little sounds, and you of course can also, all of the sounds are just WAV files on the hard drive. So if there's a sound in the game you love, you can copy it like on your phone and make it like your get new text message tone and stuff like that. That's what I love about these open source games is usually all of the components of the game are accessible to you as well without even having to get the source code. Just like the assets are directly there.
Yeah, what I love is, I mean, this game like graphically reminds me a lot lot of Kirby. It's like you're playing. It's like you're
Kirby
playing,
meets Mario a little bit.
It's
too.
like Kirby meets Mario meets Bionic Commando.
and hints of Sonic.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really groovy game.
It's a 2D side-scroller.
Meets Worms.
Yeah, it's all of those in a fast-paced 2D side scroller.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's free too. It's in the Ubuntu repo, so I would imagine it's probably in most.
It's tons of fun. Honestly, it's a great party game. If you get together with some friends and you guys are a little intoxicated, this game is fun.
So that's Teeworlds, Teeworlds, and of course links to all of that in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right,
super,
B-Man,
super
what you
cool.
got for us?
All right, so I have a confession to make. I'm going to include a game I've concluded about 20 times in the past, but these guys need love.
Oh, yeah.
The Vendetta Online guys. Go and throw that
There we
video
go.
up there.
I love Vendetta Online.
Can I scroll this down any further? Probably not. All right.
Oh, they got the video way down on their page.
Hold on. I can move
No,
it
you're
up.
going to have no dice. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Boom.
Oh, you got it.
See that? Look
at
what
you,
I can
man.
accomplish.
God, look how beautiful
All right.
that game is. So
Vendetta
this-
Online, it still looks great. It's what I love about Vendetta Online is it's a space-based, massively multiplayer game, but it's very twitchy. So it's all arcadey. It's like playing Wing Commander massively multiplayer. It's like Wing Commander Privateer, only
Interesting.
massively multiplayer.
That's a great way to put
Which
it.
is so much fun. It's so much fun. And what I love about these guys is how much they love Linux. They love Linux. They love Android. They love all these platforms.
They're on Honeycomb.
They came out, yeah. As soon as they saw that like the Zoom tablets were coming out, they're like, you know what? We're porting, and it's available, and you can play it, and that's awesome.
Yep.
And I think it's great, and I think these guys deserve a lot of love. I can't recommend them enough.
I have a space shooter that I don't know if I got it working very well, but I grabbed a space shooter that I had to build from source, but is very, very cool. I'll see if I can find the link for it because I decided not to include it because I hadn't played it very much.
Yeah.
But it was a free roaming space shooter. I'll see if and of course I don't have the shortcut because I had to build it from source, and so I don't even remember where it dropped it on my file
Nice.
system. But
Nice.
the one that I do want to recommend is a RPG that is a sci-fi RPG that you take on the role of a Tux character, and you go around in the sci-fi world and basically solve the whodunit mystery and things like that. You start out as an insomniac patient, and you're just like a little Tux dude, and you can walk around, and it is a full-on RPG, though, so I will warn you, this is not at least what I've played so far, is not a fast-paced game. It is a very dialogue-heavy game.
Yeah, it's very dialogue-heavy. It's kind of it's not a full like JRPG style thing, but it's isometric in style.
It's an overhead
feels
kind of isometric.
a lot like you're playing a Tux version of my brain just melted.
It's like
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? My brain just completely melted.
It's any overhead isometric RPG. It's like any of them, only this one's free and it's in a sci-fi world, which is what I dig. So, and there you go. Why did you have a specific
My
game in
keyboard's
mind?
totally busted.
I'm
sorry. Fallout. It's like the old original Fallout 1 and 2.
Yes.
It's got that same isometric style as the original Fallout.
There you
It's
go.
Nice. It's really, really good. And it is. It's like Fallout with Tux. It's funny. It's fun to play. It's quirky. Honestly, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's kind of fun.
It actually has a lot of like Fallout inspired type game elements. Like it kind of has like this heads-up display unit that you use. It's very Fallout-y.
Yeah, it's
Is
great.
that a term, Fallout-y?
Fallout is totally a term.
So I loved it a lot, and I had to build this one from source because I wanted to try the latest version, but I think you can find it in some repos. I think what I found is a lot of these games were on GitDeb as well, so you could always grab it from there.
I love GetDev and PlayDev. They're
All right.
so awesome.
You got another one for us there?
Oh, no,
yes.
I kind of.
Oh, yes.
So here's the thing.
This is for real.
Playing games on Linux, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, it can be kind of limiting. Part of what makes playing games on Linux so great is that you can play games built for other platforms on Linux.
Hallelujah.
So my general take on this, and the best way for me to do that, now loading up VMware and VirtualBox is great. Loading up Wine is great. That'll allow you to play some really current kind of games. But my favorite way to go, Star Trek Online plays in Wine great. Same with World of Warcraft. A lot of games play great under Wine. In fact, in some ways, they play better than they do under Windows
I've
itself.
sort of taken to using Crossover.
Crossover Office works great.
Yeah, I like that.
But what I like to do is I like to use DOSBox because I like the real classic games. And I mean, I know these aren't super old, but going back to the mid-90s and earlier, we're talking, 15 plus years old.
You hardcore.
Running in DOS. You have some great games. And then I tend to go over and support the guys over at goodoldgames.com, GOG.com, because all the games are not only cheap, but completely free of DRM.
Now we're working on
none at all.
Brian and I and Jeremy are just huge fans of good old games.
Huge fans of these
no
guys.
DRM, like you said, nice tweaked virtual DOS box, so it runs fine. And really, these guys really embody sort of reintroducing everything that I like about indie software. Good prices, cheap, respect the customer with no DRM.
Yeah, total respect. It's great.
We're totally going to work out an affiliate with these guys.
Now,
I love them.
if you're a Linux user, these apps are built for Windows. So here's the thing. Here's how you got to do it. The installers, for the most part, work great under Wine. When they install, they will then install shortcuts and a bunch of helper files that will basically act as a front end and launch DOSBox for you with a preset configuration file, and all the files that you need to play the game already pre-done there. However, that works just fine. But if you want to run it in the native Linux DOSBox, you got to load up DOSBox, point it at the files that their installer installed, and then you can play it under the Linux DOSBox, which is a little bit of work to jump through. But once you've done it, here's the great thing: no DRM. So you take those files that you've gone through the trouble of installing to get onto your Linux system, you copy them, you put them on your CDs, you put them on your backup drive.
You got it.
You've got them ready to go. Here's what I do: I've got a home, basically a backup partition that's mapped to my home drive. Boom. Goes right into my home. Symlink's right on in. All of my DOSBox stuff is in there. So then when I reinstall a new system, I install DOSBox, go into DOSBox, map that one folder to a new drive. Boom.
Love it.
I now have a ton of great old DOS games. And we're talking about some of the most awesome games from Alpha Centauri, the Might and Magic and Heroes of Might and Magic series.
Free Space.
And here's just a good example. Right now, if you go over to their site, and I'm not making any money off of this, guys.
No, but I want to in the future. So.
I wouldn't mind in the future. But if you go over there, if you spend like $35, you get basically every Heroes of Might and Magic game and every Might and Magic game ever made, all of them without DRM, with MP3 soundtracks, with scanned-in PDF versions of the manuals. It's so cool. That's how games should be distributed.
I agree.
Like I want to be able to go by like you buy Master of Orion here. You get the manual, you get the MP3 soundtracks, you get everything else free.
A lot of them you get the complete soundtrack.
God, I would love it if I could get indie titles where I get the soundtrack and I get the scan manuals and everything else. That would just be so great. So that's why I like this so much. Now, not all of these games will work well under Linux. In fact, some of them work terrible under Linux. So before you buy, go check out whether or not the game is running in DOSBox. To make it easy for you, Good Old Games has wish lists and whatnot, where people have actually listed games that work well under Linux.
A Linux wish list.
So there's Linux under Wine lists and Linux under DOSBox lists. Go check them out. That'll tell you if it's going to run well and whether or not you can feel okay plopping your $5 down to get one of the best games ever.
While you were talking about Good Old Games, I remembered what the game was that was the one I was going to throw in here.
Vega Strike!
Vega Strike.
Oh, yeah.
Free 3D first-person space shooter.
Forgot about that guy.
Totally running right here on my machine right now. Love it. Check this thing out.
God, Vega Strike's great.
This is, look at this thing. Look how nice this thing looks. Oh my gosh. I love space shooters, and this is one of those you can just look. Oh man, I wish I could show. We wanted to have video that we could show you guys, but unfortunately,
check out Vega Strike for yourself.
Vega Strike is awesome, and it's great. It's a great little space shooter. So I just free plugged that. The last game I wanted to give a mention to that I've talked a lot about in almost like the last 2 game picks, but I never actually had played it until now. Yeah. And I'd always disclaim that, and I said I want to try to play it. So this game pick round, I said, F that, line must be drawn here, this far, no farther. Yeah. Smash my rifle into my
But that is not this day.
Here is 0AD. This is sort of like, I don't want to call it just an open source Age of Empires, but it is the first thing that comes to mind.
Kind of. Some of the art style is very Age of Empires feeling, and it's an open source real-time strategy game.
So here's the thing. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. It looks so great, and it is a little rough around the edges. Like I'll give you an example. I jumped into the settings, and it just says, "Oh, sorry, the settings are not actually implemented." Yo, first of all, did you see how fast that thing started up? Right? Did it just like launch instantly, or what?
Of course, it's rock and roll.
So yeah, you can't even go into the options. It says this will eventually take you to the options menu, but it doesn't work yet. Someday it will. However, the single player stuff does work, and it is really an impressive little game here, and this is going to be something.
The look and feel is great. I recommend trying it out.
I like the old Age of Empires.
It's alpha version.
It's alpha 6.
Very alpha. I'm going to be clear on this. It's incredibly alpha, but it's so nicely done.
It just doesn't have everything implemented, but they do have a lot of the basic gameplay stuff implemented, and the interface makes sense. It's easy to build things and to give orders, and I like the way you can queue up multiple commands, and I like their UI for displaying the commands that my different
They did a nice job.
working on.
Yeah, they did a super nice job on this.
So this is 0AD, completely free, not too hard to get your hands on. I've got a link in the show notes for the specific wiki page for how to get it going on Linux, because they don't have direct links on their website. You have to go through a few subpages. So links to that in the show notes directly. You've got to check out 0AD if you are a fan of Age of Empires and you want something free to play.
Big time.
There you go. That's 0AD and runs great on Linux. Also runs on Mac and Windows. So if you want to do like a little LAN party, these free great.
Yeah, your friends can do it however they want.
Right? This is great for that.
That's how it should be.
So yeah, and of course when it's on any operating system, everybody.
I mean, it's
welcome.
like I don't really need it on Mac and Windows, but you know what?
Your buddies might.
Most of my friends need it on Mac or Windows.
Yeah.
I mean, some of my good friends run Linux, but not all of them.
So is there anything other games on the list there?
Those are the big ones.
We got a list link in there if you're interested in the good old games in DOSBox.
Yep.
We got a link in the show notes
all
for
that stuff's in there. We got links to everything in here to check out. There's some really good stuff. Honestly, 0AD really is worth checking out.
Also, if you're a first-person shooter guy, previously we've focused a lot on first-person shooters. We kind of didn't this so much, but
no. I kind of stayed away on purpose.
I fired up Warsaw because they just did a new release, and oh my gosh, still such a fun game. Warsaw is cell-shaded first-person shooter. If you haven't played it, go check it out.
It's one of my favorite designs for a first-person shooter. The cell-shaded style gives it that cartoony look, and it just makes it more fun because honestly, I don't know, there's something about like when you're playing like the current Unreals or Quakes, you're playing them and you're like, well, they're trying to make this look super real, but they can't quite, so it just looks off. But
this gives it a whole
cool.
It gives it an air of humor.
It's style, yeah.
Style.
I like it.
So I liked Warsaw. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Armageddon or however you want, Armageddon, the 3D Tron car racing game.
Yeah.
In every repo you could find.
Yeah, we were actually up at Linux Fest Northwest this last year, and they had that running in a LAN party
in a lab. Yeah,
and it was great because they had a LAN party running, and they had an overhead projector set up with that they were toggling between 2 or 3 different people.
They had a whole competition going.
Yeah,
that's really neat.
It was great, and they had kids in there that were like 6 or 7 years old playing against like grizzly old mid 50-year-old mega bearded Linux system admins, and everyone was having fun. That was great.
Scene. The chat room is calling out all kinds of things like Urban Terror and HON and all that stuff. But here's what I'll say. Check out the last episode of Linux Action Show's show comments for a bunch of good games. I'm sure some people will leave some in this comment. So if we're just getting your appetite wet, you can go check those areas. There's also a Jupiter comment thread.
Yeah,
it's got a ton of suggestions.
Check out the thread because we cannot possibly cover all of them, and our taste in games is not going to be the same as your taste in games. So go check it out.
Zegbad in the chat room's like, yeah, you guys got to go check out my comment on the forum because it's a good one. You got to go check that out. So there you go.
Yes, agreed.
All right, B-Man, that's the Linux Action Show's look at games.
That it is. And that brings us to the end of this week's amazing broadcast.
Wasn't that a fun one?
Man, everybody liked that show a lot.
I love gaming.
Yes.
I think that we've got to make a point to try to do these every 6 months or something.
So. Yeah. Once every other season, something like that.
I got an email here from Dennis. Should we read this real quick?
Absolutely. Lay it on me.
On a long time.
Give me some email.
So Dennis sent in, and I wanted to cover this one on the show because he had a question regarding accessibility on Linux. Okay. And I couldn't answer it directly, and I thought maybe some people out in the audience could. So Dennis wrote in, first of all, hardcore. He says he just watched all of the Linux Action Show on YouTube. That's some serious dedication because
you're epic, man.
Yeah. He says that he's got a big problem is that he's only has partial sight, and on Windows he's able to use something called Dragonfiler to zoom in better.
Dragonfire.
Yeah, Dragonfire. And he says that on Linux he's tried Orca, but it hasn't really produced the same results, and he's wondering if there's any suggestions out there for screen magnification accessibility for Linux.
Man, the big thing I know of is Orca. So yeah, I would love to hear from people that have this issue or know people that have this issue that know a little bit of accessibility. Go to the forums and let us know in the Linux Action Show forum of JupiterColony.com.
Yeah, there'll be a thread for this episode.
We've gotten these sorts of questions before about general vision accessibility.
And Richard's saying, and I was kind of wondering if the Compass Zoom feature would work. But
I think you need a little more than that.
It's not quite the same thing because I think you need something that's a little more guided.
Yeah, you need something a little more guided. You need to be able to have a stationary window on your screen.
That because you can see you can do the this is what I do right here. This is how I'm zooming that right there. So I mean, that might work.
It might work, but it doesn't. It's not really meant for that usage.
Because see what happens is as you move the mouse, it just jumps all over like crazy.
And it's crazy. It's hard to read even with good sight.
Yeah.
So I think if my vision was bad, I think that would just drive me nuts. So yeah, I would love to hear from people who actually have some experience in that realm.
You can leave a comment or put in the colony or email
let us know in the forum because that way other people can find that information and figure it out. All right, so we've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. It's fun.
What all we got going on?
We should mention that we're rocking Google Plus these days.
We are over on the Google Plus side of things. You can find us there just by searching for our names. We're also on the Twitter, also search for our names.
What do you think? I've been working on a project that I could do a segment out of it, but it might be it's called Redmine. It's a source control project management application.
Redmine.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Should we do an episode on Redmine? It's kind of like if you need like a project management application.
Redmine's cool.
Open source runs
we'll
on
talk
Linux.
about that.
We have done something like a little
Redmine's-
productivity.
Redmine's groovy.
Maybe we'll do like a little productivity roundup. We could talk about like some of the things we use on Linux during our workday to keep
source
it productive.
control, project management stuff.
Note taking and whatnot. So maybe we'll do that next week. I don't know.
love that idea.
So if you have any suggestions out there on how you are productive, like
Forum.
leave them in the forum and let us know. Because
Also, actually, in Google Plus is pretty handy too. The way they do the comments and threading works pretty well.
I say things about Google, but I'm loving Google Plus.
I love Google Plus too.
What can you do?
I love Google Plus too. So we also got. Let's see what else we got. We got a new show. We got an old show.
Yeah.
We got Jupiter Files.
Jupiter
with
Files.
me coming back tomorrow.
Hopefully tomorrow,
Monday.
right?
Yeah.
Which
so we got
we're recording this Sunday. So
We're recording this Sunday. The show's already recorded. Comes out every Monday.
That'd be fun.
That's the thought anyway.
What's your elevator pitch? See it because people might not remember.
Is UFOs, flying saucers, crop circles,
Black helicopters.
aliens. Actually, I got a great this week.
What about chemtrails?
I'm not gonna.
I didn't even know about chemtrails till recently.
Not in this episode.
Oh.
Theoretically, but this episode we're gonna be covering wallabies in Australia, stoned on opium, making crop circles. If that's not a pitch, I don't know what is.
Wow.
That makes you want to watch it.
I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to watch it.
I know, right? Right. So anyway, so cool little show. Comes out every Monday. Pretty awesome there. Also, if you haven't been following it, Illumination Software Creator 4.0 is coming out in like a week and a half now?
Dude, it's getting close.
It's almost here with the HTML5 and all
me.
and the crazy stuff. All sorts of awesome stuff.
Nice.
Crazy stuff. You get a free upgrade if you buy it now, whatever. It's awesome.
And that would be radicalbreeze.com.
Radicalbreeze.com. Also, one more pitch.
Wow.
One more plug.
This is a marathon.
Random thing. I got a comic book.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming out on Wednesday because Wednesday is comic book day.
See, if people watch Jupiter at night, they would already know this.
They might already know this. I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned it in the show. I think we just talked about it afterwards.
Oh.
I think this is the first time I've mentioned
live
it.
streamers already know this.
So I used the beauty of Inkscape.
Oh, yeah, you did, huh?
Oh, yeah. Linux and Inkscape to create a massive quantity of the artwork for this thing. It worked great. Yeah. It worked so great that I actually want to talk about Inkscape for graphic design and comic book design sometime in the future. But I've got a comic book coming out that is called Road Sign Hank, where it is basically this guy named Hank goes on this massive adventure to save his girlfriend with his dog from alien invaders from another planet called Zaxxon 5. And it's a family-friendly but fun. It's kind of like mix Indiana Jones meets Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Kind of imagine that as the thing in a comic book form. It's coming out on Wednesday. You can buy a digital version. You buy it for $3.99.
Mm-hmm.
DRM-free, PDF, and CBZ files.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like saying, you know what? Whatever file formats you want,
You're going to be cool.
Have it.
So
no DRM.
Where do they find that?
You can find it. Go over to lunduke.com.
Boom.
My blog. We'll have the big announcement there. We'll have a little store there where you can grab them, and then about a week later, you'll be able to buy it from Amazon if you want a hardbound version. Anyway,
there you have it.
There you go.
All right.
That's all the stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
I don't want to talk about any more stuff because now I'm tired. Now I'm tired
Exhausted?
of talking about the stuff, let alone doing the stuff.
All right, B-Man.
It's tiring, Chris.
Well, I would like to suggest...
I'm very tired right now.
that people could go kick back over jupiterbroadcasting.com every Sunday and grab the Linux Action Show, which is available in just about any format you might possibly want.
That's the show we're doing right now.
Even WebM now, for at least a little bit until I give up because it takes so effing long to encode.
I feel for you, man.
Oh, my gosh. I won't get into it. But I'll just say go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com, subscribe to the feeds, get the show in all the kinds of formats.
I hear it's a good show.
Yeah, lots of show notes, everything we talk about, usually linked there, too.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode, and we'll see you next week.
Almost certain.